So before we start the video, everybody, I want to get some housekeeping out of the way. Please, 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 if you can, watch the video all the way through. This helps us in the YouTube search rankings and helps us beat the algorithm so that we can be recommended to other people. Also, if you really enjoy the content, please like and possibly think about subscribing to the channel. That definitely helps our numbers greatly and helps other people see, again, the channel and beat the algorithm. So just remember this. And again, thank you everybody for clicking on the video and thank you for watching. Let's get into it. Okay, so I just got done watching James Gunn's Peacemaker, first 3 episodes on HBO Max, and I have thoughts. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, Peacemaker was a member of the Suicide Squad in the latest James Gunn directed The Suicide Squad film by DC and Warner Media. You can check out my review of that in the previous video. I'll probably have that linked to this at the end, so if you want to check that out, all you have to do is hit the link. I'll probably put a link in the description as well, because it's a pretty good review for a pretty good movie. Now, that being said, what is Peacemaker? Well, Peacemaker was one of the characters that was in the Suicide Squad, and he is a interesting character. He's definitely interesting in the idea that essentially he is a villain who believes himself a hero. And the reason I say that is because the Peacemaker kills criminals. That is what he does. And since that's not really heroic because of things like due process, he is put in prison and is given a deal by Argus's Amanda Waller to basically serve on her Task Force X in order to basically serve time in lieu of an actual sentence. So he is found after the events of the Suicide Squad in the hospital, recovering from injuries, and the people at the hospital just tell him, hey, you're free to go. And so he decides that he's going to go and try to be free and continue on with his vigilantism, I would imagine. Now, what makes this interesting is that this particular series so far is trying to do something very interesting, because if you're familiar with the writer/director James Gunn, you know that he's said some things that are not exactly politically correct in the past. So the idea that he can make a series for a streaming service in this climate is so interesting, because if you're watching the first 3 episodes, they are ticking every single box that they can. And what's funny about this is that they basically just dump all of the woke and diversity points into maybe a few characters. It's so interesting. So, for example, Danielle Brooks's character, Leota Adebayo, is not only a lesbian, overweight, and black, but she's also clearly on the spectrum. Like, they literally just said, oh, what else can we put in this character? What else can we put? Then there's an Asian lady character who's one of the detectives chasing Chris Smith, aka the Peacemaker. And then there's the leader of, I guess, this Argus team, Mr. Mers, who is, I can't even pronounce his brother's name, so I'm not going to butcher it, but it's definitely of African descent. But these are basically what you have to work with as far as like them just shoehorning in all the diversity that they could find to, I guess, offset the idea that this show is led by a white male. Even though Peacemaker's not a hero of any kind, it's just ridiculous. And speaking of Peacemaker, this version of Peacemaker he looks like the one from the movies. He sounds like the one from the movies, but he's definitely not, because he's soft. He's like a marshmallow. Like they've turned him into an absolute P-word, for lack of a better term, in this series so far. So the guy that killed Rick Flag turns out to be a simping, daddy's boy who's wanting daddy's approval, and who cries about his inability to relate to other people. Like, they've completely just feminized this character in an effort, I guess, to make him less abrasive to the Twitter community. That's the only thing I can think of, because he emotes a lot. And even though there's like so much raunchiness in the series, especially coming from Peacemaker, it seems like the whole point is to subvert the character and bring him around to redeem his character, rather than just let the character be who he is, which is essentially a ruthless killer who thinks that he's a villain, or that thinks he's a hero. So, I mean, that being said, it's kind of strange. Now, the characters aren't bad, the supporting cast. However, they've done certain things to different characters that I definitely don't necessarily agree with the choices being made. Now, this is spoilers, so if you haven't seen Peacemaker episodes 1 through 3, you need to leave. This is your first and last warning. So, essentially, they gave Amanda Waller a kid. What in the actual hell? Amanda Waller, the Wall, one of the most ruthless characters in the DC universe, has a child. And that child being Agent Adebayo. And this character is basically sent in as a mole to undermine the team so that Amanda's true motives, can be carried out independent of the rest of the mission. So it's just insane. Other than that, like I say, there's the other, members of the team, and they're serviceable. You have Hacker Man, Agent Barbie kind of looking girl, and then you have the tag along, who is the character Vigilante. Now, this isn't the Vigilante from like Justice League Unlimited or the comic books that you're probably used to, the one that wears the cowboy hat and has the 2 revolvers. This is the second Vigilante that was introduced in Teen Titans. He's a psychopath. But, again, he's also played for laughs and comedic relief, so that's fun. Now, the main foil so far in this series seems to be these entities called the Butterflies. And they seem to be aliens or some sort of entities that take over the bodies of influential people, or people that they just need in order to accomplish their goals. And it seems like Argus's mission in this is to eliminate them so that they can't influence the government and various geopolitical factions. So that's pretty cool. The action sequences, they're actually pretty good. The fights I really enjoy, and I actually really enjoy the fact that they introduce a lot of lesser known DC characters, in particular like Judo Master. Like, whoever thought, like maybe 10 or 12 years ago, that you'd see Judo Master running around this motherfucker? Nobody. So I mean, that's really cool. But I don't know how to feel about this, because it's so strange. Like I say, them trying to use James Gunn's way of writing and storytelling and comedic timing, and just his really raunchy comedy style to tell stories in this universe while at the same time trying to stay as woke as possible is so antithetical to each other that it makes it even funnier to watch. It's like a really slow moving car crash. So, I mean, if you're in the mood to watch something that's really offbeat, but in the DC universe, I say give this a watch. I mean, you can't really go wrong, but just keep in mind that it is strange. But hey, if you like John Cena, you like James Gunn, and you like the Suicide Squad in DC, this is for you. I'm going to give the first 3 episodes of Peacemaker a 7 out of 10. So that's it for this one, you guys. We'll see you on the next one. 8-Bit Heroes out.
Peace.